Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Black Cotton, issue number 1 from Scout Comics. This wasn't a bad book. I might get issue 2. That should tell you how I feel about the book in general. Yeah, you want to know more about the book in and of itself? Hey, stick around. Let me tell you about who made the comic book. I'll talk a little bit about the book itself. Unfortunately, let me get into that. Okay, so this issue is Chapter 1, Shots Fired. Created by and story by Patrick Foreman and Brian Hawkins. The script is by Brian Hawkins. The art is by Marco Perugini. I did the best I could. Letters by Francisco Zamora. The graphic design is by Logical Chaos, and logo design is by Brett Fowler. All right, so signed by Elijah Cotton. That's actually kind of funny. The book starts out. Actually, the whole book is in black and white. The book is done well enough that I don't know the individuals who made this book, but it looks like the artist was probably black or has drawn a lot of black characters. Because let's be realistic, if you're white, you're usually drawing white characters. If you're Asian, you're usually drawing Asian characters. You know what I'm saying? Manga is probably one of the biggest exceptions to that. Manga and anime, because the characters can look Asian or Latino or white, right? One thing they never look like, unless they're meant to look that way, is black. I hope this isn't something that people are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're saying these things. Because, it's like, it's the truth. Like, manga admits this, Anybody can look at the characters in manga and say, oh wow, but black characters are very different, which is one of the reasons why, like, I myself, when I used to draw, I always found it so hard to draw black people, because it's like, dude, come on. Like, this is so different, All that being what it is, these actually look like really good black characters. The white characters look good also. All these characters look good. This conversation reminds me of walking into a black haircutters and saying, hey, they can cut my hair. They're like, bro. Do you ever see black guys walking into white barbers and saying, can you cut my hair? No, there's a reason for it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, thank you for being honest. um, this book, look, I'd like to tell you I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story. Actually, let me just get into. Wow, it's so hard to get into this one. Let me explain what is almost the bad part about this. The story is very thin. It's not fragile. It's not frail, but it's very thin. If I explain too much about the story, it's going to reveal the story. For instance, let me explain this. It's basically a quote-unquote reverse racism story, right? Where what if the black people were dominant? What if it was just a very famous black family, a very rich and famous black family, and oops, their son who, imagine a Kardashian. There's one Kardashian kid who's a cop and he does something dumb, and it's like, oh no, now this reflects back on the family. Now imagine that, but it's a role reversal, right? Where it seems as though white people, oh no, are getting shot by black cops, and right? So on the face of it, it seems like it's just going to be some SJW story, right? It seems like it's going to be one of those situations where it's like, oh gee, they're going to try and teach white people a lesson and remind us of our privilege, and they're going to talk about privilege, but they're going to do it a different way. Well, that might happen, but I see absolutely no sign of that in this first issue. So when I read this comic book, I look at it as I did not expect it to turn in this direction at all. Yet it's still staying true to the solicit, which essentially I just told you. It's essentially a story of reverse racism, but it's not some weak, limp-wristed SJW nonsense, right? It's not that extremist, oh my God, we're going to preach. There was nothing preaching in this comic book whatsoever. It's bold and it's intelligent. You know how we talk about Icon, this character who should be just as famous as Static Shock, but somehow isn't, from Milestone Comics, right? Icon is essentially a black Superman, but he's a conservative. And it's like, wait, how does that work? Well, read the comic and you'll understand. In the meantime, that's kind of like what I'm seeing here. You would think that by the solicit, it's going to be some cheesy little preachy book, right? To put white people in our place and to make sure that we know that we're privileged with blah 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 blah. And it's like, what? Nobody. I'm not going to purchase something to try and put me in my place. I'm not, and I don't think anybody is for the most. Like it just doesn't make sense to do something like that, right? This person is a psychologist, or how dare you? How presumptuous of you? Give me my money back, damn it, right? But that's not what happens in here at all. It's a book where it's literally exploring something, at least in this first issue, that I look at and I say, okay, I'm definitely interested in what happens next. Scout Comics actually sends me these books for free. So when I say that I might do the next issue, I mean I might review the next issue. All right. I'm probably definitely going to read it though. I mean, as long as I catch it, as long as I get that email, I'm just like, oh, well, look at that. I'm probably going to read the issue. If I like it a lot, then when the issue comes, because I actually read this like a week and a half ago, but I only got my hands on the book today. I don't like to review books without the actual physical book in my hand. So I paid for this book, right? My point is, I get this book and I look at it, I'm just like, hey, I'm probably going to check out the next issue. And if it's any good, I will probably review it also, just to keep it in your guys' minds. But from what I can glean from this, I think a lot of people might be interested in this. So consider checking it out. This could be the next big thing from Scout Comics. You had Yasmin, you had Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists, and you had a couple others I'm sure that were good too that I just didn't read. I can't read all the comic books. This might be one of the next big ones. This might be something that some people are talking about at some point. I can see something like this actually becoming a Netflix or whatever TV series. I'm being dead serious when I say that. Not some Lifetime drama. God forbid a Lifetime drama. Anyway, guys, consider checking the book out. Scout Comics, Black Cotton, issue number 1. I can actually pick the comic book up. And enjoy. Talk to you guys later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.